Hello everyone, welcome back to another card combo show with me, Chocobilly, and this week I'm looking at an old card that has been very integral to quite a few decks over the years. The card I am looking at is Luminous Puma from Opus 8. So it's a 5 CP Earth monster with the text, when Luminous Puma enters the field, choose one forward in your break zone, add it to your hand, and then put Luminous Puma into the break zone, choose one forward or backup in your break zone, add it to your hand. So there have been a few different cards that have utilized this in various ways, but about, I think it was a year, maybe two back now, this card was part of a loop, which meant that you could just keep on recycling things and basically create an infinite loop and just do stupid amounts of things and basically get a one-turn kill. Not a turn one kill though. But yeah, either way, it's a really, really good card. Now, the reason it's a good card is because it isn't that impressive. It's fairly costly, but it's what you might call an enabler. It enables so many decks to do so many things, and it kind of works just because it's so basic and simple and does this effect. It's a generic, so you can have 3 if you want to. It's a monster, so it's searchable and playable off of various different cards which we'll look at now. But yeah, just generally really good card that enables you to do some interesting things. So first up, Mirror. Mirror was used a lot, or is used a lot with this card, because as soon as you're at 5 damage, you can play Mirror onto the field, get Luminous Puma back from your break zone, play it onto the field, and then obviously get another forward from your break zone at the same time. You can then put Luminous Puma back into the break zone, and then get another card. Now this actually works nicely with Mirror as well, because you could potentially play Mirror onto the field, bring Luminous Puma onto the field, get a forward, say like, I don't know, the first one that comes to mind is Barbarisha for some reason, which sets something to 1k damage, 1k power even. You then put Luminous Puma into the break zone, get something else back to your hand, but then also deal 2k to a forward through Mirror's effect, and then you play Barbarisha, set it to 1k, kill the forward. Worst things that happened. Then you got Mirror. Just being able to find Luminous Puma is pretty important because, like I said, it's an enabler, so being able to find that enabler is very important. However, if you've got it on the field, Luminous Puma that is, ready to just use for a specific effect or a specific ability which you're waiting for and your opponent knows that, they might just try and outright kill Luminous Puma, so using Mirror to protect it is also pretty important as well. Mirror! So being able to reduce this cost is quite nice as well, to make it only a 4k, a 4 CP, sorry, which is very useful because ultimately it means that you go from not using all your backups to using, well, 4 backups rather than 5. But the reason I like it as well is because you play it onto the field, you get something back, you then put it into the break zone, you get something back, but then you can dull Mirror to then search another Luminous Puma and then potentially play that one as well. Now obviously that's, you know, paying a lot for effectively just switching cards out of your hand, right? If you pay 4 for this card and you get 2 cards back to your hand, that's 4 CP minus the cost of the actual Luminous Puma, right? 4 CP, 4 backups, but then Luminous Puma is a card out of your hand, so technically 6 CP. But either way, it gets you the cards that you want, and being able to get another Luminous Puma ready to use later down the line, or use immediately if you really wanted to, is also quite useful. Now, if you combine this with Talika, so obviously you can dull Talika, the cost required to cast your characters onto the field this turn is reduced by 1, very useful because then Luminous Puma becomes only 3 CP. However, Talika's only useful if you're casting at least more than 1 character. Generally, the more the better for each character you cast, right? You gain 1 CP. So making it so that Luminous Puma costs 3, technically 4 at this point because you've still dulled Talika, so it's like you dulled her anyway, is nice because you put Luminous Puma onto the field, in fact 3 CP. You then get a character back. You can then cast that onto the field for 1 CP less, potentially 2 CP less if it's a forward or a monster, like Quattro Queen. So Quattro Queen is both a monster and a forward. The fact that it's a forward is important because that means Luminous Puma can get it back, but it's also a monster, which means that it gets back both, or sorry, it gets cost reduced by both Mirror and Talika. So that's only a 2 CP forward. You can then play Quattro Queen onto the field, get a monster, a 2 CP monster back from your break zone. If it's also a forward, then you can play onto the field. Now, there's a very limited amount of cards that this actually works with. So you've got things like, why has my mind gone blank for literally every single monster? I want to call Enchilada, but I know it's not Enchilada. It's what Knuckles is. Echidna, thank you. It's something like Echidna can become a forward. And whilst it's on the field, it is both a monster and a forward. But when it's in the break zone, it is just a monster. Cards need to have text along the lines of, like Quattro Queen, for example. Quattro Queen is also a monster in all situations. And generally, it's always forwards that gain the something in all situations text. Now, the cards that she can bring back onto the field are Babbliz, Frit, Zapped, and I forgot its name now, Twintania, the dark monster. So you could Quattro Queen into Twintania, for example, which is only 2 CP then for, 2 AK forwards. Twintania has a persistent effect as well, which could be quite annoying. But yeah, this is all whilst using Mira, Talika, Luminous Puma, to get things back. Now, Talika obviously is generally a very, very good card to use Luminous Puma because you're reducing the cost of whatever Luminous Puma is, but then you can use it with other cards well that you get back from Luminous Puma, so Yuna. So this is part of the play, right, that used to get used a lot. Talika reduces the cost, Luminous Puma to play onto the field. Actually, it'd probably be play Mira onto the field to then get Luminous Puma onto the field. Mira being only 1 CP at this point rather than 2. Luminous Puma comes onto the field, gets you a Yuna, you play Yuna onto the field for only 3. That reactivates all your backups. You then do other things, and you can see where we go with this. Ultimately, be able to get Luminous Puma onto the field for cheap to then get other cards that enable even more things, and just creating all these chains of horrible effects is quite fun. Cecil's another great one as well. So obviously Cecil will become only a 4 CP rather than a 5, and Luminous Puma 4 CP as well. So getting Talika, then Luminous Puma, then Cecil into something else, maybe again reactivating all your backups if it's a 4 character, or sorry, 2 backups, not all your backups. However, that would work nicely with Atomos as well. So Atomos is on the field, you play Luminous Puma for only 4, you then play Cecil, you get to play a 4 character onto the field, activate 2 backups through Atomos, 2 backups through Cecil's effect. Regis. So Regis is kind of a fun card, Luminous Puma, because obviously you can just replay things back onto the field. However, the combo that I quite like is, let's say you've got 3 forwards on the field, Regis and 2 other forwards. Play Kefka onto the field after using Talika's effect. Play Luminous Puma onto the field to get back your Kefka. You then put Regis and the 2 other forwards into the break zone to play Kefka onto the field. You then get to break something. You can then use Luminous Puma to get back the Regis, play Regis onto the field to then replay the 2 other forwards. Now there is also the Noctis backup, which can just dull and break to play Regis onto the field to then get the other 2 as well, but you might not be going for that. You might have some other stuff in there as well. But yeah, ultimately Luminous Puma to get back the Regis, or firstly, to play onto the field to get back the Kefka, to then break the Luminous Puma to then get back the Regis as well. So you're able to replay things onto the field, and there isn't really any restriction on Regis other than light or dark. So when Regis enters the field, choose 2 forwards other than card name Regis, light or dark, put into the break zone and field this turn, play them onto the field. So they could be 2 massive, horrible forwards that are just going to deal stupid things to your opponent's field, and do that. Montleonis is another good one as well. So obviously Talika will reduce his cost by 1, but then Montleonis' cost is also reduced by 1. So you play Luminous Puma onto the field for only 4, Montleonis, and let's say you've got 5 backups, he will be reduced by a total of 6. 1 for each of the 5 backups, and then 1 for Luminous Puma, but then also 1 for the Talika as well. So he is now reduced by 7. So he then costs only 4 CP to play onto the field. You play Montleonis, you then play something else onto the field. Maybe that searches something for you to then play something else onto the field for cheap as well. So again, it's all about how you can chain things together, and again, how Luminous Puma is a massive enabler. Une. I hate this card. I really, really hate this card because it's so good at what it does. And it doesn't even really do that much, but just having the bounce basically in Earth is rank. But obviously you can reduce her cost already. You can then use Talika to make it become a 3 cost. But again, Luminous Puma, make it a 4 cost. Get Une back, then remove things from your break zone to water or earth summons, and then play Une onto the field for only 3 CP. Not too bad. Yeah, please make sure to subscribe. It makes a big difference. Right, let's move off of just the silly chains, and ultimately how Luminous Puma is just an S fodder retriever thing. So Warrior of Light gets all the things, Luminous Puma onto the field, get your ultimate shield S. I mean, having effectively the ability to use Warrior's Light of Shield multiple times is super useful. So in a Warrior Light deck, you often found that there'd be maybe 3 of this guy run and then 2 of the multi-element run as well, because people want to use his S ability to stop your things from dying. So having Luminous Puma be able to play it onto the field, get back that S ability, and then just have it sat there ready for your opponent to try to do something. You then Luminous Puma into the break zone, because you can do it at any point, so you can, on your opponent's turn, they try to board wipe or try to do something to target your stuff. Luminous Puma into the break zone, get back the Warrior of Light, immediately use the S ability. Same sort of thing for Illua as well, and this is quite nice because obviously you put Illua in, you put Luminous Puma in onto the field. I know how to play this game. And then you can potentially get back another forward, play that onto the field, put Luminous Puma into the break zone, and then use the Shale S from Luminous Puma's break, and give that forward you just brought back onto the field yeah, haste and -2k to your board. Or you could just use Luminous Puma to use Shale like 2 or 3 times if you want to, because S ability, play Luminous Puma onto the field, get the S back, use it again, break Luminous Puma, use the S again, -6k to your opponent's board. And some really, really hasted forwards. Black Waltz 3, so being able to just get back some Black Waltzes without, or sorry, be able to get back some Black Mages without Black Waltz 3 actually having to die, because when he dies you get 2 back, but yeah, just pay 0, discard 1, drop Black Mage from your hand. We do so, choose a forward of 3 unless your opponent controls, break it. Not so useful these days because there's lots of forwards that are above that, which are really annoying to deal with, but there's also lots of small ones as well. So, you know, it depends heavily on what you're playing up against, but either way, Luminous Puma just sitting there, able to retrieve your Black Mages to use your Black Waltz's effect is quite nice. Now, obviously, there aren't too many Black Mages in Earth, but one of the ones that is a very, very playable card, and that is Robel Akbel. He's a Black Mage, and ultimately, if you're just getting Robel Akbel back just to play it onto the field to kill something, including a monster or a forward, it's quite nice. If not, just use it with Black Waltz to kill something else. Balthier, so discard 1, drop Sky Pirate, activate all the characters you control, you can only use this ability once per turn. So yeah, play Luminous Puma onto the field, get back Sky Pirate, immediately discard Sky Pirate, get everything back, and it's like Luminous Puma is basically being free. And then again, you can put Luminous Puma into the break zone on your opponent's turn, and then discard on your opponent's turn to activate everything. So yeah, Luminous Puma and Balthier could be a horrible little mixture together. Now, Sky Pirates don't really tend to use Earth much, but that's not to say that they shouldn't, and you know, there could be some fun things there that people haven't looked at yet. And there's nothing there for some reason. Golbez! He likes to make a dramatic entrance, obviously. So this isn't referring to his first effect, but double Meteor. So S and 2 lightning. Choose one forward, deal at 9,000 damage. That's not too bad. You may discard 1 card named Golbez. If you do so, use the special ability again without paying the cost. So you can do that as many times as you want. So let's say you play Luminous Puma onto the field, get back a Golbez, use the Golbez S, then use the S again, or discard another Golbez, then put Luminous Puma into the break zone and use an S again. Now, technically, you can use the same Golbez for the S ability to be repeated, because you can already have Luminous Puma on the field, you use Golbez's S, you obviously make the payment, the ability then stacks. That means if you've made the payment, the S is already in the break zone, you can then break Luminous Puma in response, get back the Golbez, then discard another one to be able to repeat the effect. So you can use Golbez's S pretty cheaply, fairly effectively through Luminous Puma. Sophie, just because you want Luminous Puma sat there waiting for Sophie, because when she does inevitably go into the break zone, if she isn't removed from the game, your opponent's going to try and remove her from the break zone using things like Emperor Gestal or Alba, things like that. So making sure that you've got Luminous Puma ready to be able to just get her back from the break zone before your opponent has a chance to remove her is probably quite important as well. Talking of monks, so Ursula, obviously Ursula's a great enabler because she plays things onto the field from the break zone, but she ultimately is the one that dies a lot, so making sure you can get her back effectively and then replaying Ursula as many times as you can to then replay the things from the break zone onto the field. Tama, this is silly. So Tama is pay X, put Tama into the break zone, play 1 character of cost X or less from your hand onto the field. So the great thing about Tama is that you don't have to choose the character you're playing onto the field until resolution. So you could pay 7, bait your opponent into thinking that you're going to be playing a Shantoto, and then play, I don't know, something else that doesn't cost 7. Let's go with Chaos, the Earth Chaos, that can play a dark character from your deck, because it's cost X or less, which is quite nice. And it's also play a character as well, so it means that you can ultimately play a backup onto the field as well. So it could be Shantoto if you really wanted. Obviously, Luminous Puma is quite nice for this because your opponent might be considering what you've got in your hand. Maybe you searched something recently and they're like, oh, he's going to play this, I'm going to set up to stop him from doing that. And then on the stack of Tama, use Luminous Puma to get back something and then play that through Tama as well. So if you've already got your Shantotos in your break zone, you then break Tama, Luminous Puma to get back the Shantoto, because on the break effect you can get back a backup, not on the entry but only on the break. Get back Shantoto, then play Shantoto on the field. It's worth noting here that this only works because of the way Tama operates with a backup. So let's say you're at 5 backups and you break Tama. As I mentioned, you only play the thing onto the field, only decide what you're playing onto the field at resolution. Now, normally, let's say hypothetically you've got the Opus 1 Devout. You break it, choose a forward in your break zone, play it or a forward of 4 or less in your break zone, play it onto the field. that has to be legal at the point of using the devout, because you're choosing the forward. Let's say you chose a Zidane, or I don't know, in ice there's snow. Let's say you chose a snow in your break zone, but you've already got snow on the field. That's an illegal target, so it means that you cannot choose that snow. Tama, however, operates differently because you're choosing at the point of resolution, so it means that you can break Tama with 5 backups, and then at resolution you can then play another backup, because when you go to play it at resolution there is no 5th backup because you broke the Tama. So it's because of the fact it's at resolution rather than at the use of the ability that you can do something like that. Shantoto, so again, put Luminous Puma into the break zone, and this could just be an off-color Shantoto in mono earth, because all you need is 1 ice, 1 colorless, and a crystal. Remove Shantoto from your break zone, dull all the forwards opponent controls. So provided you've got Tyro, Kachi, a myriad of different things in earth that can generate ice, you pay the ice with that card, you get the Shantoto back with Luminous Puma, dull your opponent's forwards, win the game potentially. Go-Go. Now obviously you can put Luminous Puma into the break zone. With Go-Go on the field, it means you get something back. So you play Luminous Puma onto the field, get a forward, put him in the break zone, get another forward or a backup, and then that will Go-Go will mimic that, and then you get something else to their hand. So it means you get 6 cards, 6 CP's worth of cards. You get 3 cards, which is really good. Just bear in mind that Go-Go obviously mimics the action ability, not the entry effect. Now, this is quite fun, as I mentioned earlier, with S abilities, because you use Luminous Puma for S fodder. Now, Go-Go obviously can copy S abilities. So, what can we do with this? So Shantoto has a really good S ability. Now I'm going to focus mostly on forwards that have S abilities, which you can use as soon as you play them onto the field. Basically, S abilities that don't have the dull icon, because they don't require to use these effects. You can just immediately pay S, 1 ice, choose up to 3 characters, dull them and freeze them. Put Luminous Puma into the break zone, get yourself a Go-Go back, and then, or actually it could be, just play Shantoto onto the field. Maybe get her entry effect, I don't know. Then you put Luminous Puma into the break zone, get yourself a Shantoto, and also get yourself a Go-Go, because Go-Go will copy the effect. You now have the S abilities for both of them, and dull and freeze 3 characters twice, so technically 6. Montleonis, so choose up to 2 forwards your opponent controls. Deal them 9,000 damage. You can only use this ability whilst Montleonis is attacking. So, this is a bit of a weird one, and I haven't really found clarification on this. I probably should have waited to find out first. There was some talk about Go-Go, basically, alongside cards like Megissa and things like that, about whether or not Go-Go requires certain prerequisites within an effect to be met so that you can then use Go-Go's effect, and it seems like you don't need those prerequisites. So bear in mind, this could be wrong, but I don't think it is. I've checked with my local playgroup, they seem to think it works, so hopefully it works. So basically, Taunting Blade. You literally play Montleonis onto the field, then immediately use the S ability. Or actually, you wouldn't be able to immediately, but Montleonis attacks, you use the S ability. Again, it's only an S, so put Luminous Puma into the break zone, get back a Mont, use the S ability, you then dull Go-Go, use the S ability again. So you get to choose 2 forwards, deal them 9k. That's pretty significant. It could be, you know, you deal 2 forwards 9k, and then 1 forward 9k twice, so it deals 18k something. You know, there's loads of different ways you can chop and change it, but ultimately, you should be able to use Taunting Blade with Go-Go, even though Go-Go hasn't attacked. Rude. S and Ice, choose 1 dull forward, break it. Again, just play Rude onto the field. Immediately you use Luminous Puma to get back the Rude S and the Go-Go S. Immediately use the S abilities, choose 2 forwards, choose dull forward, sorry, and break them. Sephiroth, disgusting card. Shadow Flare, S and an Ice. Your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. You can use this ability during your main phase. That's perfectly fine. Luminous Puma in the break zone, get yourself a Sephi, get yourself a Go-Go. Use the S ability twice, make your opponent discard 4 cards. That's pretty grim. At that point, your opponent's probably going to be casting a summon from the hand, but still, that's gnarly. Galuf. I like this because it's stupid, it doesn't really work. So, Unfaltering Volition. Activate Galuf. Until the end of the turn, Galuf gains a 10,000 power and can attack once more this turn. You can only use the ability if Galuf has received damage this turn. So, again, the prerequisite for Go-Go shouldn't matter here. But the reason I like this is because, as I said before, it doesn't really work, because you would dull Go-Go to copy the S effect, and then it can attack once more this turn. But unless Go-Go has Brave, he'll still only attack once, because Galuf doesn't gain Brave from this effect, he just becomes active. So you would use this S ability on Galuf, then you would use the S ability with Go-Go, and then you would attack, but Go-Go wouldn't be able to attack a second time unless you reactivated him or gave him Brave. So yeah, I'm very aware that this is just slowly turning into a Go-Go video and not a Luminous Puma video, but like I said before, Luminous Puma is a fantastic enabler. So if you've got something and you think I need to be able to do X or Y, consider Luminous Puma. Une, I absolutely love this card. One, because of the weird artwork, but I really genuinely like the effects as well. Be able to free cast one of 2 summons in your break zone, but then also the Holy S. Holy is an S, an Ice, and an Earth. Choose one dull forward. Deal it 20,000 damage. Search for one summon and add it to your hand. Now obviously Go-Go can copy that effect to deal 2 lots of 20k or 1 pack, well technically still 2, but 1 lot of 40k to something, and then get search 2 summons, which ain't that bad. Now when you play Une onto the field, you can just choose 2 summons in your break zone and make them just 2 summons that dull out 2 forwards, and then you can use the S ability twice, making sure there are still 2 dull forwards, and deal each of them 20k and get 2 summons back to hand. That's not too bad, and like I said before, you're using Luminous Puma to convert into even more cards then at that point. Also with these S effects as well, I'm kind of keeping them only to Earth Ice because realistically that's all you're going to be able to do if you're running, well, I mean, if you're an Earth, then you can just have a 1 off Go-Go, 3 of Go-Go, and then be a different element, but I'm trying to keep it just that for simplicity's sake. But yeah, ultimately use Une's S ability twice, 2 lots of 20k, and 2 summons to hand, which you could then get maybe the Shiva that you could then free cast because you played Une this turn. Sin. Stupid effect, but ultimately, if you can Giga Graviton, so S and 9, at the end of your next turn, if Sin is on the field, your opponent loses the game. You can only use this ability during your turn. But that means you can use, Go-Go can use the effect as well. So now your opponent has to get rid of Sin and Go-Go. Obviously, if they can board wipe, it's a moot point. But if they can only kill Sin but not Go-Go, that's kind of funny, and you win the game because Go-Go copied Sin's S. And as I said before, using Luminous Puma to put into the break zone to then get copy the effect with Go-Go means that you get both S's, or maybe you're just finding enough cards to even just be able to use Giga Graviton. You might already have the Go-Go S in hand. Just being able to get enough cards through Luminous Puma is important for Giga Graviton. Now, bars. This is the inspiration for why I'm using Luminous Puma, because I built a deck recently, maybe do a deck profile about it at some point, but I wanted to be able to use Bartz's Rapid Fire S ability. So he has 3 S abilities, and his Rapid Fire is, until the end of the turn, Bartz gains Haste, Brave, and Bartz can attack 3 times this turn. You can only use his ability if Bartz uses Spellblade and Dual Wield this turn. So Spellblade, choose from 4, deal a 5k damage, and Dual Wield, until the end of the turn, Bartz gains First Strike, and Bartz's power becomes 10,000. Now, there's a lot to unpack there. Obviously, choose one forward, deal a 5k damage. That's pretty good. That's just like Braska, right? No, because Braska can discard summons to use his S ability as well. Bartz, you just have to have Bartz. And then Dual Wield, again, not as good as it sounds because he doesn't gain 10,000 power. It becomes 10,000 power. So if you use it twice, it's still 10,000 power, not 27,000. So bear that in mind. But ultimately, you can use Luminous Puma to get back the Bartzes to your hand, then use the S ability because you ultimately will need 3 Bartzes to be able to use all 3 effects, right? However, if you do, say, hypothetically get the Rapid Fire off, as I said before, Luminous Puma gets copied by Go-Go, you could then get a Go-Go to hand and then use Go-Go's effect, or S effect, to then copy Rapid Fire, as I mentioned before. I don't think the prerequisite has to be met because the 2 S's, or just for some reason, they doesn't require the prerequisite. Again, this could potentially be wrong, but there we are. You are in Wind. You should be able to reactivate Go-Go, so then he can attack 3 times as well. Maybe, if it works. Now, I want to talk a little bit more just about Bartz, because he's got his S effect. You've got... Oh, he's got all 3 S effects, which you have to use. Now, Luminous Puma is a fantastic enabler, because let's say you've already got Bartz on the field, and a Bartz in hand, and a Luminous Puma in hand. You can use an S, make him a 10k, play Luminous Puma, get back the Bartz, use Spellblade, so it deals 5k something, put Luminous Puma into the break zone, get the S back again, and then use Rapid Fire. So all you need is Bartz on the field, a Bartz in hand, and Luminous Puma in hand as well. Then you can use all 3. I was looking at different ways that you could use Bartz's effect. The Sarah Water Warrior Light backup that searches 2 Warriors of Light was a potential, but actually I much preferred this because there are other ways that you can enable Bartz's S ability as well. And yes, this has now become a Bartz video and not a Luminous Puma video. Cloud. So provided you can get Cloud on the field and to survive for a turn, which normally doesn't happen because the things you'll get will be quite nasty, but either way, you can, if Cloud survives a turn, you can dull, put Cloud into the break zone to then search Bartz, play Bartz onto the field, and then again, if you've got Bartz in hand, Luminous Puma in hand, you can then use his effects. Now, this just makes it a bit more versatile. It means that you don't necessarily have to have the Bartz on the field because you've got Cloud as a means of searching him, which is fantastic. However, you need to also have the Bartz in hand and the Luminous Puma in hand. Now, I went over earlier about how you can find Luminous Puma with something like Mirror, but how do you find maybe, you know, the other Bartz you need in your hand to be able to use the S abilities? Pandemonium! So there's only one Bartz that is searchable off of Pandemonium, which is the Opus 1 5 CP EX Burst one. But either way, it's a Bartz S, or it's a Bartz card, which means it can be used for Bartz S. So provided you have a mixture of a Bartz on the field, a Bartz in hand, or a Cloud on the field and Pandemonium in hand, and have a Luminous Puma in hand, again potentially searchable off of Mirror, you can use all three of Bartz's effects. Now, that's a lot to unpack, and why I should probably do a deck tech on it rather than, you know, kind of jimmying it into this video. But like I said, Bartz was the inspiration for using Luminous Puma, and turns out I'd never done a Luminous Puma video, which is Luminous Puma, which is surprising either way. So yeah, I wanted to touch about it because it's a really good card. Like I said, that just allows you to do so many stupid things. And if you're trying to find a way of having either enough cards in hand or the right cards in hand, maybe Luminous Puma is the way to it. And that's Luminous Puma. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. It makes a big difference if you do like and subscribe the video, because it means that more people will organically find the video as well, and we do want the channel to keep growing, and since I've been saying stuff like this, people have been subscribing, so it's definitely working. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe, be lucky, and I will see you in the next video.